the chosen. Be brave, Professor. Be brave like my mother.
How do you feel?
Excellent. Really excellent.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hogwarts, a podcast. We are covering Chapter 16, A Very Frosty Christmas. Julie is with us once again.
Hi, everybody.
Julie just can't get enough of all of the relationship talk that we've been having.
I'm telling you, I'm the relationship expert of the podcast.
We got some really interesting stuff going on in this chapter. We get back to the Burrow. We jump straight from Slughorn's party to the Burrow for essentially another party because we're celebrating Christmas at the Burrow. We get some really interesting dynamics going on while we're at the Burrow. We get a Harry with Mr. Weasley and Lupin discussion, and we also get a special surprise visitor or two that show up. So let's just start with him just getting back at the Burrow and getting into that vibe. We get one of the best quotes from Ron maybe in the series. Harry's telling him about what he heard Snape telling Draco, or Snape's conversation with Draco, and about the unbreakable vow, and Ron just goes, well, you can't break an unbreakable vow.
Ron is very astute.
Very astute comment, which Harry, even growing up with Muggles, was able to
figure that
comprehend.
One out. He got that far.
But he does ask, like, well, what happens if you do? And Ron's like, well, you die.
Yeah.
And then he goes into a really funny story about how Fred and George tried to have Ron make an unbreakable vow. And that's the most angry they've ever seen Arthur. Almost as angry as Molly gets.
Don't you need actual magic, though, to do an unbreakable vow?
You do need to perform the actual spell, yeah.
So, like, because Ron says that Fred and George were close to getting him to do it, but, like, were they?
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, if I was Arthur, just the fact that they were even in the ballpark of attempting it, I'd be super upset.
Yeah, fair enough.
But an unbreakable vow. So if you break it, you die. Julie, would you ever make an unbreakable vow?
I feel like it kind of depends on the circumstances. The unbreakable vow in this book is, I don't know, kind of I don't want to say dumb thing to make an unbreakable vow on, but like, meh. Would I probably, like, make an unbreakable vow to, like, help or save my kids or my husband? Like, yeah. But it still, like, depends on what the terms of it are.
Well, so there's...
You have to think, what are you willing to die for?
Well, even the terms of the unbreakable vow that we see made at the beginning of this book, you can still wiggle your way around terms, because it's like, if my son fails to accomplish the task, or will you help him try to accomplish it? Well, okay, yeah, I'll help him. Well, then it's what level of help counts as help, and you can kind of worm your way around that. But
can you? There's not like a lawyer that comes up and says you didn't fulfill your side of the bargain. Dead. Like,
I guess.
So what does how does magic determine that?
Well, we've always said magic kind of has a will of its own.
Because
like,
I would
assume it would have to be clear. I would assume Snape would have to literally be like, I am refusing to help you in this case.
Yeah.
Done. Because even if he attempts to help but doesn't actually help, that still counts, because I guess you were attempting to. You didn't specifically refuse help.
Yeah, I just feel like at the end of the day, the unbreakable vow is there anything that you would be willing to die for?
Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately what you're being asked to put on the line, is your life.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there are, like, certain instances that could come up that it would happen, but, like, I can't off the top of my head be like, yes, I would totally make an unbreakable vow.
Fair enough. I do like how, speaking of Fred and George trying to pull off the unbreakable vow, they also have a moment here where they ambush Ron, who is actually cutting up parts of the dinner with an actual knife, Like,
I
magic.
don't understand this. Magic exists, and somehow they are still doing manual labor. And it's not like it saves time, because Molly could just walk in and, like, wave her wand and it's all done. Meanwhile, Ron and Harry are going to spend, like, an hour doing it.
Yep.
I don't know. It seems dumb.
Well, Fred and George distract them further, so it's going to take even longer, by commenting on the unsuspected skills of Ron in his dating life by being able to date Lavender Brown.
And his aggressive embracing skills.
Yes. And they taunt him enough where Ron ends up throwing a knife at Fred, who then turns it into a paper airplane with a flick of his wand. And my question is, that counts as transfiguration, right? You're turning a knife into a paper airplane.
Yeah.
That's pretty decent magic on Fred's part to just lazily flick the wand.
We've talked about this before, though. Fred and George are actually really smart and talented in magic, just not in, like, okay, everyone write your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of magic. They're more the practical magic.
Right. But if, like, they had to eventually do that in McGonagall's class, and I don't know that they got an OWL in Transfiguration. I'm going to assume that they didn't, actually. Because combined, they only got 3.
But my assumption is that they listen, but they don't do.
Maybe.
So, like, they learned in class, but, like, they didn't care about doing well on their OWLs. So they just kind of, like, went through the motions. They didn't focus on doing well or doing poorly. They just did what they did.
Either way, I think it's a really nice, lazy piece of awesome magic that Fred does here. We learned that everybody is essentially home, except for Charlie and Percy. Percy for obvious reasons, and Charlie, I'm assuming, is just very busy and out of the country. Mm-hmm. So, Ginny has decorated the living room like a, quote, paper chain explosion.
How much time did that take? Because if it's a paper chain explosion, paper chains actually take a really long time to make without magic.
And exactly, without magic, yeah. I'm assuming she spent the vast majority of her Christmas break trying to do that. Assuming they get more than just, like, Christmas Eve and Christmas off. I'm assuming they get, like, a nice week off, probably. I still think, and Molly will back me up 100% on this, I know, that it is pure gnome abuse what happens.
I 100% agree with you.
The angel on top of the tree is a gnome painted completely in gold wearing a tutu.
Because it bit, I think, Fred on the ankle.
Yeah.
And so they stupefied it,
Yep.
painted it, and put a tutu on it.
It's a sentient creature with a language and everything. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm pretty sure this is gnome abuse, which is a Weasley staple.
Yes.
So
Yes, it is.
I'm just throwing that out there. Gosh, I feel like on this podcast I've turned into like Hermione with
Spiel.
Yeah. I'm like, am I now advocating for gnome rights?
I think so.
Apparently,
Make the buttons.
My next D&D character is going to be a gnome druid that can just transform into different animals. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
That's going to be great for those D&D fans out there. We get a whole bunch of Celestina Warbeck music, which is, I believe, generally referred to as Fleur Delacour abuse, because she is not about it. Not about it at all. But, Julie, we get a cauldron full of hot, strong love.
Love it. Here for it.
And you charmed the heart right out of me. Wonderful. Wonderful songs. I don't know if you want to regale us with a version of some of the lyrics.
I'm good.
No?
I'm not singing today.
I'm not singing either, but I will tell you some of the lyrics of the cauldron full of hot, strong love. We get, "Oh, come and stir my cauldron, and if you get it right, I'll boil you up some hot, strong love to keep you warm tonight." Wonderful. The other ones, I think, even worse. However, there is some clever wordplay in it. I will grant it that. "Oh, my poor heart, where has it gone? It's left me for a spell." Do you get it, Julie?
I do, Dan.
Do you
Thank
get
you.
it? Spell means two things. It's great. You've torn it quite apart. I'll thank you to give back my heart. What a wonderful two songs. I can't imagine why Fleur is upset with a full night of Celestina Warbeck. I will say this, the performances that they do in the Wizarding World is actually pretty decent, for whatever it's worth. The singer does a great job. Songs, still meh. but the actual performance is fine. We get past that. And by the way, I love Mr. Weasley being like, I'm so sorry about this. Like, Mrs. Weasley tries to make it like a romantic moment. Arthur, we danced to this when we were 18. And he's like, what? Oh, yeah, that. But anyway, we get to the real part of this chapter. We get Harry finally gets a chance to talk to Arthur. He's been working long days and nights at the ministry, but he finally gets a chance to tell Mr. Weasley about Draco and Snape. Lupin is sitting not far away, keeping his ear on this conversation. And the upshot is both Arthur and Lupin have their faith and trust in Snape.
Well, they have their faith and trust in Dumbledore. Not in Snape. Like, they specifically, when Harry's like, well, how do we know he's trustworthy? I think it's Lupin that says it isn't our business to know. And it's just like, as long as Dumbledore trusts him, so do we. Yep.
Yes, they have blind, unwavering loyalty towards Albus Dumbledore, for sure. I think the thing is, it's not that they don't trust Snape, it's that they don't like Snape. I don't think anybody likes him. Specifically, Lupin says, or at least comes off as more Snape neutral, if you want to call it that. He's like, look, we're not friends. We're never going to be friends. We have too much of a history for that. But Lupin also takes a mature route and says, look, he made the potion for me while I was at Hogwarts. That's not an easy potion to make. He could have done some real damage to me, and he did not. He kept me healthy for a full year. So I have an inherent gratefulness to him, which I think is fair and mature.
Yeah, and then you have Harry who's fighting back with the, like, well, Dumbledore was around, so of course he wouldn't have messed with it. And then we get to what I think is, like, a very, I don't know, strong stance from Lupin, and I think it's pretty insightful and kind of makes Lupin, I don't want to say the new Sirius, but I think Lupin kind of steps in as more of a friendly, fatherly figure in this, as opposed to, you know, the adult in the room, or even just looking at Harry as, like, if you want to call him an equal, since you're all kind of Order of the Phoenix. Lupin says, you're determined to hate him, Harry, and I understand with James as your father and with Sirius as your godfather, you have inherited an old prejudice. And then he essentially goes on to tell Harry, like, you know what? You do you. If you want to tell Dumbledore what you told us, like, I think you should, go ahead. But, like, don't be surprised when Dumbledore, like, waves it off and doesn't take any meaning behind it. But I like that Lupin points out Harry's prejudice against Snape and that he's always had it, and that it definitely didn't help that both Sirius and James had it out for Snape. Mm-hmm. The two people that he connects with, looks up to, and looks like for pretty much both of them. Yeah. No, I think I like the fatherly figure that both Lupin and Mr. Weasley present, because they're both people that Harry feels comfortable to go to and talk about pretty much whatever he feels he has to talk about. I like that combo. I like how Ron even tells him before in this chapter, is like, oh, so you're going to talk to my dad and like whoever about, or Dumbledore about Snape. Well, I'm just going to tell you now, they're probably going to tell you whatever. Yeah. And Lupin and Mr. Weasley are basically like, well, you can go tell Dumbledore, but he's basically going to tell you, well, whatever. Like, it's the same message coming from pretty much all corners of Harry's life, of just like, it all boils down to, do you trust Albus Dumbledore? And most of the people in his life do. And honestly, to their credit, they don't really have a reason not to. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're the greatest wizard of our age. You've already defeated one of the greatest dark wizards of all time. Why shouldn't we put our faith in you? Yeah. I mean, my goodness, you're the pinnacle of wisdom and power. So sure. Harry and Lupin end up having a nice moment together when Mr. Weasley is like, okay, I need to diffuse the Molly Weasley floor tension that's rising. Bless Arthur. He's great. But Lupin says that he has been underground with werewolves this entire time. He says nearly all of the werewolves have joined Voldy. Lupin is acting as a spy among them, which is hard, dangerous,
intense work that Lupin does not get enough credit for now or probably ever. My goodness, that is some work that he is doing. And he basically goes into the whole scheme. Voldy's pitching of just offering a better life for werewolves.
Which, I mean, is like a typical, like, rallying for the opposing side anyway. Of the, like, you know, for Voldemort, he could easily say, like, listen, we're trying to make sure that it's pureblood wizards on top. So for you, it's a feast of muggles and...
He's literally offering them prey.
Yeah.
Like, you get to kill and contaminate whoever you want as long as it's not pureblood wizards.
The one thing that I also enjoy with Lupin here is that he ends up being very bitter that he's in this situation. And, I mean, like, who wouldn't be? Like, it's got to be hard. Like, you're with the werewolves that have essentially said, like, there's no part of me that's human anymore. Mm-hmm. And he starts out bitter, and then it's like as soon as he realizes that he is sounding, like, bitter about helping the greater good, he changes his tune. And I like that we're starting to see more of the adults have the layers of this decision. That it's not just a, we have to fight the good fight for the greater good. We have to fight the good fight for the greater good. Like, they're not just all marching in line. Like, you're actually seeing what it's like to be in a battle, to be in a war, to be the soldier, to be the, like, okay, we got to do this. Wow, this is really terrible and I hate it and I can't believe that I have to do this. Wait, hold on. I'm doing this for the greater good. Like,
there's a reason. There's a
reason.
higher
I'm the
calling
only one
than-
that can do this.
It's interesting hearing Lupin talk about it because he's like, he doesn't look good, by the way.
Yeah.
He looks run down. He looks ragged. He looks like he's been through it. And he's like, look, none of the werewolves particularly like me. And it has nothing to do with his connection with Harry. It has a connection to do with he looks like a werewolf that's tried to make it in real society.
Yeah.
And just that stigma has put him through the ringer with these werewolves where they don't 100% trust him or they don't listen to his spiel because they're like, oh, well, you tried to make a go of it up there.
Well, and imagine what Lupin must be going through too if all these werewolves are looking for prey and Lupin's trying to gain their trust. Like, at this time, has Lupin turned someone? Because if all of them are out for blood, how is he supposed to gain their trust if he's like, you know what? Sorry, guys, I'm vegan.
You know what? That's actually a great point that I don't think I've ever considered before. Mm-hmm. If he's acting as a spy, like, for example, if there are informants for federal government or police that go and work in, like, drug cartels or gangs or whatever, to get into those places, you need to do some not good things that maybe you are morally opposed to. But to do your job, you have to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I never thought about that before. Would Lupin be asked to be put in situations that he is morally and just wholeheartedly against? Well,
because think about it. Like, if there's already that stigma against him for him trying to live in the wizarding world, like, the best way for, like, him to gain their trust is to be like them. And so if they're all, you know, hunting for prey, it's not like he could sit there and go, oh, no, guys, you know what? I had a really big breakfast. I'm good.
Well, and then you run the tightrope walk of, if you don't want to turn any people into werewolves, why? Do you think we're less than? Well, if you think we're less than...
Then why are you here?
Then why are you here? Because, so... I don't know if you guys remember here in the chapter we learned that it was Fenrir Greyback who bit Lupin, and he is known as the most savage werewolf alive today, and who has declared for Voldy specifically. And if you remember, a long, long time ago, I think when we were doing Prisoner of Azkaban, I was with Molly and I did a little bit of a deep dive on Lupin's history and about how Lupin became a werewolf. And he mentions it a little bit. His father had run afoul of Fenrir Greyback, and that's how Greyback targeted him. And it was specifically Fenrir Greyback was in Ministry of Magic custody and his father was in as an expert on dark creatures or something like that, and was brought in to consult. And he very clearly recognized that Fenrir was indeed a werewolf.
Yeah.
Not just some muggle who got caught because he looked shabby, he looked whatever. He didn't have a wand. So he passed himself off as, I believe, a muggle to get out of it. Mm-hmm. Remus's dad didn't believe it, and he said some not so nice things about werewolves in the presence of Fenrir Greyback, and that's how he affronted him, and blah, 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 and history is history. So, I mean, there's a real history there, and if you're Fenrir and you see Remus, you're probably like, oh, I like that you're down here with us now because I made you this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a power move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also, honest, if I put myself in Fenrir Greyback's shoes, if as scary as the thought of that is, yeah, to your point, I would make Remus do something he didn't want to do to earn his spot there.
Yeah.
I'd be like, if you want to run with us, you have to do something to prove it.
Especially if you think of like pack mentality. You have to prove your loyalty.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing that I think gets brought up is Lupin brings up how Harry is similar to James. Because Harry just refers to his werewolf side as a problem.
A furry little problem.
That was James who referred to it as
Yeah.
a furry little problem. And then Lupin was saying,
You're normal. You just
like,
have
you have a furry
problem."
little problem. But I think it's interesting to see that even though Lily and James didn't raise Harry, it's always interesting when there's the call-outs to personality traits that still came through without that, like, nurturing from them. Like, he didn't learn that type of a, like, I don't want to say joke, but, you know, that lightheartedness of a serious issue. He didn't learn that from James. Like, he was one. But it's interesting to see things like that poke through, even though Lily and James had no actual hand in Harry being raised.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
Some little personality quirks that have clearly carried through. Harry asks Lupin if he recognizes the Half-Blood Prince title from his time at school. And Lupin, and he brings up some examples of some spells or whatever. And Lupin says, oh, Levi Corpus. Yeah, Levi Corpus. I remember that spell. It was a spell that was particularly in vogue when he was in school. And specifically the fifth year. And Lupin's like, you know, it's not to say someone particularly invented it while we were at school. Jinxes go in and out of fashion, could have been long.
Which I find hilarious that,
Yeah.
like, jinxes go in and out of fashion. Like, what's the latest jinx this season?
Is Ginny going to make the Bat Bogey hex like a real, like...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I
What
don't
a
know.
trendsetter.
But Lupin ultimately says that, no, the Half-Blood Prince is not any of the Marauders. James, if you're wondering about James, he's pure blood, and no, never made any of us refer to him as Prince. So, no, it's not one of us. We had our name, the Marauders.
Yeah.
So, Lupin does ask Harry, like, hey, you might want to check the date on the book.
Can we talk about the dumbest suggestion that I've ever heard?
Yeah. It's a...
You know, see when the book was published. What do you mean when the book was published? They're using the same book now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that the book was published 50 years ago if they're still using it now.
Yeah. Book's nearly 50 years old, which I guess his parents were not at Hogwarts 50 years ago. But again...
They were using the potions book.
They were using that same potions book, clearly.
What
So,
a dumb suggestion. I'm sorry. Like, I have, like, of all the things to suggest...
Yeah, it, you know...
See what year the
it
book
wouldn't
was
have mattered.
published.
Wouldn't have mattered one way or the other. We get Christmas Day. And we get a bunch of gifts. I'm going to save the best one for last. So, and Julie knows which one that is.
Uh-huh.
So Harry gets a sweater with a golden snitch, which is nice. I feel like that's nice from Mrs. Weasley. He gets a large box from Fred and George's shop. Not surprising.
Maybe some love potions.
I was just about to say maybe some love potions. You get a package of maggots from Creature. I don't know. What do you think about that? Good that Creature thought of him on Christmas, or bad that he gave him a package of maggots?
I mean, it might not have been a package of maggots when he sent it.
Is it sad that Harry's not surprised at one bad gift because he's gotten gifts from the Dursleys?
Like a hanger.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, maybe he gave him some cheese, and since it wasn't refrigerated, it turned into maggot. I don't know.
If you're checking these packages, you're like, oh, okay, a box from Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, cool. Oh, sweater, that's nice. What is this? Why?
Maybe you just assume that it's for, like, potions.
Maybe, I don't know.
And you're like, oh, okay, they just ordered potion supplies.
Clearly the best gift that was given on this Christmas day. Ron gets a wonderful gold chain from Lav, and I always refer to her as Lav, that says, "My sweetheart." Ron is like, why would she think I want this?
Why would anyone want that?
And then Harry is great with it. He's like, I don't know. Have you guys ever talked about how you wanted a big gold chain with my sweetheart on it? And Ron's like, well, we don't really talk. We really just embrace aggressively. And that's really all it is. Which is just fantastic. And then Ron immediately asks about Hermione. Because that's what he does. But I don't know. Julie, you wouldn't want a big gold chain with my sweetheart posted on it?
No.
Your husband not
Nope.
giving you that for Valentine's Day, your birthday,
he's
Christmas?
not.
No?
Nope.
None of the above, huh? Not an
No.
anniversary gift?
Nope.
I'll tell him. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll give him a heads up.
I'm sure he'll listen to your advice, Dan. You know what? You know how you didn't know how to fully decipher women? You know how we just talked about that? I think that might relate to jewelry too. Just stay away from the jewelry.
I'll let him know that's what your heart desires.
Okay, fantastic.
You
Thanks,
doth
Dan.
protest too much. Clearly you want it.
Wow, a Shakespeare quote. Look at us today.
Woo. We get what I view as kind of an interesting Christmas. I guess this is a lunch, dinner. I don't know. It doesn't really specify. But Harry ends up asking why Tonks's Patronus has changed, because who better to ask than the person who taught him what a Patronus is and how to do it, Lupin. And Lupin is about to respond, and he responds with, well, sometimes great emotional upheaval or shock can alter magic, can alter your magic, can alter what your magic looks like, and whatever. And it's similar to what Dumbledore was saying about
Merope losing her magic.
About Merope losing her magic. Sometimes emotions and how you're feeling can disrupt it. Well, speaking about great emotional upheavals or shock, we get a Percy arrival.
Wow, this is the real reason I'm here, isn't it?
Yeah, right? Oh, wow, that is you.
We're looping it back.
We're looping it all the way back. If you don't remember, Percy was the subject of a wonderful debate with Julie and Jen about what was the worst argument, or the worst argument.
The worst argument.
Harry with Ron and Hermione as he arrives at Grimmauld Place, or Percy and Arthur. Well,
Jen and I are apparently by ourselves on an island.
Yes.
The island of correctness.
No. No, Percy arrives, and to everyone's great shock, Molly absolutely stumbles over herself trying to get Percy a hug. Everybody else, and this is where a Frosty Christmas happens, just
starts. I would say this would be the start of the Frosty Christmas.
Starts, but everybody just looks at Percy and stares at him with a disgruntled look, maybe.
Yeah.
A why are you here look. And he's with someone. He is with the Minister of Magic, Rufus, who, bless him, comes in. And I will give him this. He does do the politician thing. He's like, Molly, oh, it's so wonderful to be here.
Percy wanted to see you so badly, so
Percy
we just had to stop by.
We were in the neighborhood. Percy really wanted to stop in, so I couldn't refuse a family request on a Christmas holiday. Okay, all right. You're learning your game. Fudge is teaching you well.
Yeah.
Fudge is teaching you well.
And pretends like he doesn't know who Harry is.
Oh.
When he's like, I would like a tour of the garden from that young lad over there.
He was doing well until that. That's where he lost all credibility, because no one in the Burrow was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Rufus ends up wanting a word with Harry. And Julie, I have so much on this, and some might have to dip into the spoilers, but essentially, Rufus wanted to speak to Harry for a while about why Albus has shielded him away, and how he wants a better, closer connection with Albus, and he wants a better, closer connection with Harry, and he thinks we have a mutual duty here to better the wizarding world.
Okay, my question is, how exactly is the Minister of Magic shielded from Harry Potter?
Well, Albus keeps him on pretty close.
But, like, I don't know. I feel like if you really wanted to, you could.
Well, I mean, you could just show up at Hogwarts. I mean, Fudge has shown up at Hogwarts
Multiple times.
But for some reason, Rufus and we're not privy to every Rufus Albus interaction.
Yeah.
So maybe Albus has strictly said, "Do not come here."
Yeah.
And I mean, if I don't care who you are, even if you're the Minister of Magic, and even if you're Rufus Grimgor, who is an intimidating individual, and he has, let's be fair to him, a pretty stout resume. I mean, he has been there, done that. And if Albus Dumbledore looks you in the eye, presumably, or specifically tells you, "Do not come here," you're gonna take the note.
I guess I could also see the arrogance level of, like, oh, Dumbledore will come around.
Maybe that too. But you have Fudge, who's already told him in the other Minister chapter of, like, don't bank on Dumbledore getting back to you, because I've been trying to get a hold of him for a long, long time, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is maybe a fault of Albus, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rufus says that Harry is a symbol of hope and has a duty to stand beside the Ministry of Magic in these troubled times.
It's giving Captain America vibes. When Steve Rogers gets the serum, you have a duty to serve your country, and by serve your country, I mean show up at road shows and wave at people and say, "America is great." Yeah,
that's apt. That's exactly what he's asking Harry to do.
Yeah, it just, as soon as I read it, I was like,
that's
this
fair.
Is literally like...
Look at you, Julie. I'm proud of you for the Marvel reference.
Thank you. This is literally like in Captain America, the First Avenger, where it's, here's your serum, and then once he gets the serum, instead of being like, all right, go punch some Nazis, instead it's, go sing with the showgirls and raise funds and raise morale.
The more I think about it, the more apt comparison that is. Because you're talking about people that could actually do real good for you, and you just want to use them as a mascot, which is what Harry essentially calls them out for later.
Yeah, well, and the way that Rufus talks about Harry is he literally says there's rumors of Harry being the chosen one. And it's like the whole way that he like talks to Harry about like, oh, you're supposed to be the chosen one. You're supposed to be the bringer of light. You're supposed to be... It sounds very like, well, you know, the nation has picked you as our beacon of hope. Are you our beacon of hope? Probably not. But everyone thinks you're our beacon of hope, so slap your face on a poster and wave.
He's... At this part of the conversation, the pitch, essentially, that he makes to Harry... He is very slick. He's like, look, I don't care if you're the chosen one. Like that's cool if you are. Let me know if you are.
Yeah.
But I don't care. It's the perception. It's the I don't want to call it propaganda, but it is kind of propaganda.
Yeah, it's the Steve Rogers.
Yeah. It's like and I think he's really slick on how he presents it too. He's like, hey, all we need is you to just come in and out of the ministry a couple of times. We don't even need you to say anything. We don't even need you to do anything. Just the idea that it presents the image that you're potentially at least speaking with us. That would help us out a lot. Which, if I'm taking a step back from Harry's point of view, which obviously this is all from Harry's point of view, if I take a step back and if I step into Rufus's shoes, yes, this is a good strategy for you. You need this. I mean, let's forget about the politicalization of Harry here. He does need support. He needs Wizarding World support. Politically, he needs that. And he needs everybody to get on a united front.
Yeah, and he needs everyone to think that all of the good guys are on a united front.
He's not disingenuous about that. That's factual.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's he's just using it. He's using it, and he's using Harry. But is what he's using Harry for a bad thing?
Yes.
Is it?
I think so.
I mean, I think the Wizarding world does need to come together around something.
Well, then the way to do that isn't by Harry just coming in and out of the ministry every once in a while. The way to do that is doing the opposite of what they did last year and start talking to the Daily Prophet about how great Harry Potter is and how Harry Potter is going to help us. Like, the ministry needs to take that step to fix what was broken before saying, hey, Harry, can you just walk in and show the world that you're on our side, even though we spent over a year trashing you and calling you a liar when you weren't?
I think they've changed their tune about Harry in the media. It's just what Harry wants to see more of is accountability for, like, hey, we messed up. And they have, like, a blurb on it in a massive paper.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hey, everyone knows we messed up because they all know that Voldemort's back. So we don't need to say it.
Right. So I think he's looking for more accountability, which that's the thing that Rufus avoids the most.
Yeah.
And he says that, he goes on and he tries to sweeten the pitch by saying that, hey, I have heard you're interested in being an Auror. Well, obviously I was head of the Auror office, and, I know who replaced me, Gawain Robards? They succeeded me as the head of the Auror office. I can set up a meeting between you two, and we can talk about you being an Auror.
I know that you all can't see my face right now, but I am, like, fuming right now. This makes me so angry. Ever since we were introduced to the Aurors as a profession, and Harry obviously said that was his, like, goal, everyone's always like, well, Harry, in order to be an Auror, you have to do great at these subjects. You need to be good at this. And, I have a connection for you. I have a connection for you, too. Oh, no, he is Harry Potter. You want to know how he gets a job as an Auror? He walks into the Auror's office and goes, hi, I'm Harry Potter. I start on Monday.
Yep. And that would probably get the job done.
That's it. Yep. That's it. That's his resume. He just walks in and go, hey, see this scar on my head? I'm Harry Potter. I'm starting tomorrow.
Even Rufus acknowledges, like, Harry, even if you're not the chosen one, the fact remains you've faced him multiple times already, and you're standing here talking to me right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
everyone keeps, like, dangling this carrot of, like, this is how you become an Auror. No, he pretty much is one. He's just not paid for it. The only thing that this kid needs to do is walk into the office and say, like, hey, here's my whatever their equivalent of a social security number is, and say, hey, here's my social security number, and how much money am I making? Here's my bank account so you can do direct deposit. Done.
Yep. No, I agree.
It enrages me every time I read it that all of these adults...
You are going to bat for Harry Potter right now.
It just makes me so angry that they're all like, oh, your dreams are so cute, but they're really hard to achieve. No, he's essentially like the embodiment of the job.
Look at Julie writing Harry's cover letter right now. It's amazing. Wow, I didn't know you were his agent all of a sudden. That's wonderful.
Apparently I am when it comes to his future career prospects. I'm his guidance counselor.
We still have a lot to go in this conversation, and I have a lot to say on it, but we're probably going to get to most of it in the spoiler section. So I'm going to ramble through some of the rest of this. In that Auror conversation that Julie is so heated about, here's where Rufus makes his real mistake. He name drops Umbridge.
I'm still fired up, and that makes it even worse.
I know, then that's fair. This is his one true mistake in this conversation. Yeah. I mean, I could spin some things.
He could have turned anything else around, but saying, oh, well, Umbridge said, like...
If I'm the Ministry of Magic publicist, whatever Rufus is saying prior to this name drop, I could spin that. I'd be like, nope, Rufus is trying to do the best for the Wizarding world, like I tried to say a little bit. I'm like, I could spin that.
Yeah.
Why is Dolores Umbridge still employed at the Ministry of Magic?
That's an excellent question.
There is no good answer for that. Unless there is a heck of a human resources department and Umbridge has them wrapped around her finger. Like, in legal things? Is there, like, there's magical lawyers, I'm assuming, right?
I'm assuming.
Because in case there is some contract issue where she is, like, locked in and they can't fire her for some reason, because there's more than enough probable cause.
Yeah.
How is she still employed?
I got nothing.
And I don't think he can possibly give an answer to that.
No.
So I will get back to that in a second. I'll get back to that when we touch base and I give my whole spiel. But we'll get back to that. Anger builds in Harry, stunningly. Harry says that he disagrees with recent Ministry of Magic activity, and he provides examples. He says specifically imprisoning Stan Shunpike and making Stan a scapegoat while making Harry a mascot. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, this 16-year-old child is talking to the head of state.
And owning him.
And he is dropping straight bars. Yep. Like, I mean, he is on fire right now. I keep coming back to this. I know what I was like at 16. I am not talking to a teacher like this, let alone the president of the United States.
Yep.
This kid has some... This is his Gryffindor. If anything could...
This is his Gryffindor.
If anything could, like... He's got, I will say, some courage. I want to say other things, but he's got some courage to be able to stand up to the Minister of Magic and call him out on the just nonsense that the Ministry has done to his face. And is it probably disrespectful? Yeah. Is it warranted? Yes. I mean, it's fair.
I mean, with everything that the Ministry did to Harry in the past, like, honestly... Take your shots. Go.
It's 100% fair. I get the taking shots at Harry wasn't Rufus. That wasn't his administration.
Yeah.
This
But
is.
Yeah.
Imprisoning Stan Shunpike is. Mm-hmm. And, Harry calls him out for being the exact opposite of Fudge. Great, you're not a bumbling idiot, but you're overreaching. You're now imprisoning people for nothing. Like, that's not the right way either. And stunningly, again, I don't think I can fault Rufus for this take, but stunningly, the Minister of Magic is not keen on a 16-year-old telling him how to do his job, which is fair, even though he's wrong here. So he's not pleased, and now he gets a little bit more aggressive in his questioning, and he blatantly says and questions whether Harry is the chosen one, which he then, to his credit, I guess, sees his overstep and is like, "Hey, look, that was tactless. I'm sorry about that. That was an overreach."
Yeah.
Which, I give him credit for that, because Fudge would never do that. Never admit that he made a mistake. Fine. But Harry comes back, and I'm just like, yeah, it was tactless, but at least it was honest. Mm-hmm. So that's maybe the one honest thing you might have said to me all day so far. Which, again, is just, like, straight up fire coming from Harry. I was like, dang. I both really, really like Harry here, and I also dislike him, but I'll get to why I dislike him later.
Okay.
Harry, in response to parroting the Ministry of Magic taglines like Rufus wants, and I could see him, like, brandishing his fist, like, in this moment, and just being like, I must not tell lies, which is such a great line. And especially with Rufus mentioning Umbridge, and then you see, like, literally the tortured scars in this kid's hand.
Not that Rufus would know that was Umbridge, but
we'll get to that. Okay. We'll get to that. Yes. Yes, which is a whole other thing. Rufus then changes tactics and tries to threaten to track Albus. And Harry comes back at him again. You seem cleverer than Fudge. True. You seem cleverer than Fudge. He tried interfering at Hogwarts. He's not minister anymore. Dumbledore is still headmaster. I'd leave Dumbledore alone if I were you. Wow.
Okay, but that one was also a little... I think that one wasn't as much a shots fired. That was a little bit more petulant teenager, my opinion.
It's facts, though.
It is facts.
It's straight facts. He's not wrong. And I mean, like, I'm just overwhelmed at the idea of this 16-year-old going to this hardened, head of the Auror office, now Minister of Magic, and just owning him completely. And Rufus really doesn't have a good answer for any of this. He just gets angry at it and is like, I guess you're Dumbledore's man through and through. And Harry's like, great, now we understand each other. I'm out. Like, just drops the mic and walks back in. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy. I think we all need to appreciate that encounter.
Well, I think with everything that Harry's been through, both with the Ministry and with, life, he's reached the point where it's like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, there's more important things to worry about than a PR campaign. So, like, peace out, don't care, I'm gonna go save the world. Bye.
Yeah. I have a whole spiel on this, which we're running long, so we can get to that in the spoiler section. Julie, do you have anything for the non-spoilers that you have left?
I got nothing.
Awesome. We will head to the spoiler section. Be ready, because I'm going to have a little bit of a Dan rant. I'm going to fire some questions at Julie.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have a good discussion. It'll be great. So we will see you on the other end of this break sound. Before we get to our break sound, I'd like to acknowledge our friend Andy, who helps us produce our intros and our break sounds. If you want to hear more of Andy's work and like Formula One racing, check out the Outlap F1 podcast. It's your one-stop shop for Formula One news, insights, race previews, and reviews. You can find them wherever you listen to podcasts, and they even have a YouTube page. So check out Andy, Cody, John, James, and Deanna, and join them on the Outlap.
Where is he? Where's my 1-1?
All right, so we are back with the spoiler section, and I want to just deep dive into this conversation with Rufus and Harry. And the first question I want to ask you, we kind of briefly talked about already, but the idea of Harry having a duty to help the Ministry of Magic create a pro-Ministry of Magic, anti-Voldemort sense. Does Harry have that duty to help them out?
No.
Why? In your opinion?
I think the Ministry has spent so much time and effort attacking Harry and Harry's credibility and Dumbledore's credibility too. I mean, this is mainly about Harry, but like also they attack Dumbledore. With that much of a hate campaign against him, I don't think he has any obligation to turn around and then go, yes, everything's fine, trust the Ministry. Because Harry has no reason to trust the Ministry. He was the Ministry's golden boy in the beginning, and then when the Ministry didn't agree with him, he was their scapegoat. And now that they see people are rallying around Harry, they're like, oh wait, our approval rating is low. Let's add Harry Potter. And to me, there's no obligation to it because I don't think it necessarily helps or hurts the overall fight for everyone to be behind the Ministry. Because even when Voldemort first came to power, it wasn't the Ministry that took out Voldemort.
No, it was a concerted effort of individuals.
Yeah.
Well,
but it's like you had the Order operating outside of
really, it wasn't
the Ministry.
It was one individual. It was Lily.
Yeah.
That honestly took it down. So.
And so I don't think that there's any obligation.
I can't disagree with a lot of your points that you throw in as far as, look, the Ministry has berated this kid for the last year and a half-ish. All of his fifth year, some of his fourth year, with all the Triwizard drama with Rita working for them and all that kind of good stuff. I can't disagree with that because that's just truth. That being said, I think he does have some level of accountability in this because you are Harry Potter, whether you like it or not, and media and marketing and how you present things does matter. It really does. Presenting a strong, united front matters. It's when you're divided and segmented that Voldemort breaks you apart.
But they're not divided and segmented. Harry's not going around campaigning against the Ministry.
No, but there's a general mistrust of the Ministry of Magic, which I'm not debating the reason for that. There's cause for that, which is what Rufus has acknowledged. Hey,
Yeah, but that's not Harry's responsibility to fix that. That's the Ministry's. And the Ministry is trying to fix it by saying, hey, Harry, pretend that we're cool. I don't think it's on Harry. I think it's on the Ministry to repair what was broken, extend the olive branch, and extending the olive branch is not saying... That's what they're doing. No, it's not.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get Harry on board.
By saying, hey, it's your duty to do this? That's not an olive branch. There was no apology. There was no, we put you through the ringer. There was
I'm not saying they did it well. I'm just saying they did it.
That was not an olive branch. That was Rufus going, we need to get Harry Potter on board. And Percy went, he's going to be at my family's house for Christmas. And then Rufus goes, well, let's stop by. There wasn't any, let's talk to him and see what we need to work on. It was a, hey, be our poster child. It's the right thing to do.
Well, okay. So that's where I think this thing takes a turn, is I think there were a couple of fumbles here on both parts. Obviously, the fumble on Rufus is name-dropping Umbridge. That torpedoed whatever attempts he had to recruit Harry. Harry might even have considered it, and then he finds out Umbridge is still working at the Ministry, and that just torpedoed everything. It was never going to happen after that. If Umbridge was not working at the Ministry of Magic, if she had been fired, do you think Harry is at least more willing to consider their offer? Not even a little bit?
Nope.
Okay. I think Harry has... He wants to complain about the Ministry of Magic. And he wants to call out all of their faults, which is good and fair, and he should. But he doesn't offer any attempts or suggestions on how to change it either. He's just like...
He's 16!
Well, he's smart enough to call them out on their stuff. Like, hey, you're imprisoning Stan Shunpike. Hey, why is... He didn't even ask why Umbridge is still employed there. He didn't specify all of the stuff that Umbridge had done to him and his classmates. That was an opportunity to be like, why is she still there? Why are you imprisoning Stan Shunpike and employing Dolores Umbridge?
That's a lot of pressure to put on a 16-year-old, though.
It's what you got. You have power. You have power if you're Harry Potter.
Yeah, and so he just said, no.
But you're not doing anything to change it. You're just letting it be what it is. You're not offering change. You're just hating on it. So if you're hating on it but not offering a solution, are you doing any good? No.
I think he's a net neutral at this point. I don't think
it's not good enough. You're in a war.
Him saying anything to Rufus isn't going to change anything unless he says, yes, I'll be your poster child, which then if he's going to be the poster child, Rufus isn't going to change anything. He's going to go, great, I have Harry Potter walking in every Tuesday.
If you have problems with the Ministry and they're literally offering you a platform to at least offer solutions or change.
They're not, though.
Why not? They're giving him a spot.
No, Rufus literally says that he just wants him to walk into the Ministry to show that they're cool.
They're opening a door.
He's not saying,
they're literally opening a door.
Come and sit at our round table while we plot how to take down Voldemort.
So this is the problem, though.
The Ministry never cares about Harry. They don't. They never have at all.
But this is the problem.
At no point in this series has the Ministry ever shown that Harry Potter is anything other than a token child that you can go, oh, look, it's Harry Potter. That's the only thing they care about. They don't care about his opinion. They don't care about what he's done. They just care that he can possibly be a poster boy. And then when he does something negative, then they can go, oh, look at what those wild celebrity children do.
I think Harry has a chance to right a Dumbledore wrong. Because I don't think Dumbledore, the adult, grown man that he is right in spurning the Ministry either.
But why does Harry have to fix what Dumbledore's mistake was? Why am I defending Harry so much, Dan? What is happening?
I don't know, but I think Harry does have, if they're offering him a chance to speak up.
They're not, though.
They just gave him an audience. The Minister of Magic just showed up on his doorstep and had a conversation with him.
The Minister of Magic showed up on his doorstep and said, please show everyone that we're cool. He did not say, come in every Tuesday and we can talk. He said, walk into the Ministry of Magic.
So why can't Harry negotiate that and be like, no, if I'm going to do this, I want a voice in the room. I want...
Why would he want to? He's essentially
change.
He's essentially part of the Order of the Phoenix, which for Harry, that's going to have a stronger effect on the outcome of this wizarding war than the Ministry of Magic's going to be.
And then continue to sit back.
And you already know that the Ministry of Magic is infiltrated with Death Eaters. So why would you want to keep showing up there? You don't know who to trust there. You know who you can trust in the Order.
You can't... It does nothing to keep complaining about something and not try to change it. Then you're just adding to the problem. If you want to change something, you have to actively go do something about it.
It's not Harry's job to unify the wizarding world.
Then he should stop complaining about what they want to do. If they wanted to open up the door for him, he's got to take that opportunity. All I'm saying is, I think Harry misses a chance here. I think Harry misses a chance to really air out some grievances and get some points across to Rufus and being, you have to do these things and change before I'm going to be okay with what the Ministry is. I love what Harry did here. Don't get me wrong. I love what Harry did in this conversation with Rufus. Lord knows I wouldn't have been able to do it at 16. I think he did an amazing, wonderful job. I think he missed some opportunities that he could have leveraged Rufus and leveraged the Ministry for good, for better.
But the Ministry is also always going to see him as a child, not as an equal. And I don't think that any leverage would have done anything, because they're always going to see him as either a child or a pawn, because he's either a child that they can manipulate to be their poster boy, or he's a pawn to help them get Dumbledore on their side. And I think Harry realizes that, because that's what he's always been to the
Ministry. Well, that's what he does. That's why he went to the Quibbler to get his actual story out there.
Yeah.
Which, he went to the people. And if he has to go to the people again, that's fine. But now you're creating more division between the general people and the Ministry of Magic, when that's what Voldy wants. He wants everybody to be divided. He doesn't want there to be a strong united front against him. He wants that division. When Fudge said no to Dumbledore way back when in that hospital wing room, that's a win for Voldy. Because now Dumbledore and Fudge are split. That's a win. If the people in the Ministry of Magic are split, it makes it easier for him to carve up the people, and it makes it easier for him to infiltrate the Ministry. Like, just splitting everything more and more and more isn't good. But
we're going to have to agree to disagree, because I'm not budging here.
Fair enough. Let us know what you all think on that discussion. I'm sure there will be...
Come on, please let me be on the side of the popular vote this time.
There will be, I'm sure, quite a lot of discussion about our discussion there. Leave comments on that. Let us know what you think on this Harry Rufus discussion and how you guys feel about, did he have a duty to the Ministry of Magic? If so, why? If not, why not? And all of that good stuff. We do have a couple other spoilers, right?
Yes. One thing that I want to touch on really quickly is talking about everyone saying, like, oh, yeah, we're good with Snape because Dumbledore trusts him, because Dumbledore trusts him. Oh, yeah, yay, Snape, because Dumbledore trusts him. How terrible do you think they all feel after Snape kills Dumbledore? Because every single adult in this book defends Snape because Dumbledore trusts him. How much does that, like, rattle you to your core that you had so much faith in a man who I don't want to say put his faith in the wrong person, because, like, in the grand scheme of things,
it was all right. So
it was all planned, but, like,
yeah,
no one knows that,
right? So what you're talking about is in that moment, news breaks, Snape killed Dumbledore on the Astronomy Tower. In the moment, yeah, it's got to be soul crushing. I think,
like, all of your beliefs were just out the window, because it was whatever Dumbledore relies in, you can rely in.
Yeah. I think I want to say Lupin mentions it in the 7th book, but it's been a minute. But he talks about, or at least conveys the idea of, that was everything. Like, we're split and divided because we're like rudderless now.
Yeah.
Because we don't have our leader, and what we thought the leader was solid in, we're now on shaky ground.
Yeah.
Like, we're a little splintered, we're a little fractured, we don't know where we're at. And it comes back around, like you said, it comes back around when everything gets revealed and Snape becomes like this hero and...
whatever.
I get it, but Snape's revealed to be on the better side of things in the end, and their faith is rewarded again a little bit, even though Lupin's isn't because he's not around anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a roller coaster ride, and yes, it must be soul crushing.
Because you hear it all the way back in book 1 of Dumbledore trusts Snape. Whoever Dumbledore trusts, we should trust.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking about that this whole book, like knowing how the book ends. This whole, like taking out book 7, just specifically looking at Half-Blood Prince. Knowing how this book ends, every single time that you see Snape questioned and people saying like, no, like, Snape's a Dumbledore guy. Dumbledore trusts him. Dumbledore trusts him. We have to trust whoever Dumbledore trusts. And like every time I read it, I'm like, whoo, you guys are in for a rough.
Well, you know what? Like, I don't think anybody's ever really talked about this or even really thought about it. But if you're in Snape's shoes and you get to that final moment and you do what you have been instructed to do and what you've promised to do on 2 different levels from Albus and the Unbreakable Vow. And now your essential protector, your guiding light, your foundation that has kept you grounded and protected is now gone. Now your guidance about like, hey, how do I maybe navigate X, Y, or Z is gone. And now it's all on you. You think Snape at that point is like, the hell, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to navigate this now?
It's such a crazy thing that like, obviously we're going to end up touching on more once we get especially into book 7, but like it's an interesting character analysis of Snape because in that moment he has a choice. He could choose to not kill Albus, and by doing that it also means that he didn't help Draco, so he dies.
Right.
But by dying, he's no longer there to protect Harry.
Right.
He's no longer there to essentially protect Lily.
Oh, and Dumbledore was also already dying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was going to die one way or the other anyway.
Yeah. A little convoluted that you'd go, well, I'm going to die anyway, so you might as well kill me so that people think you're onto the dark side.
Well, it's, covering your bases, I guess. But, yeah. No, I get you. It's like an earth-shattering, feet pulled out from under you kind of moment. Do you have anything else on that?
No.
The other thing I wanted to get to was the very awkward questions Harry was asking at the meal to Lupin. And Lupin, I love, some of the subtle writing is wonderful because Harry asked the question about the Patronuses and the writing is just like, Lupin takes a second, finishes his food, finishes his little sip of the drink, takes a breath, and is like, well, and then answers the question. And he's about to get to the I think he's about to either get to the punchline, either out loud or in his head.
Yeah.
When Percy! Oh my gosh.
Well, and I feel like it's more of a in his head. The interesting thing here is this is the second time that we've talked about a major change to Tonks's magic that Harry has essentially associated with the loss of Sirius.
Right.
The first time around it was, she hasn't really been able to transform herself because of the blow of losing her cousin. And then now with the Patronus, it's, it was a large four-legged creature, and he's assuming that it was a large black dog.
Because he even says that, large four-legged, and then Lupin's like, oh boy.
Yeah, and then Percy shows up before this conversation can be finished, and so for Harry's perception, she's grieving over Sirius.
Yeah, and they've also, the kids to compound their relationship drama problems, they've also been assuming that Tonks and Bill are the item. Like, Tonks is upset that Bill is marrying Fleur.
Well, that's also Molly, too, because Molly talks about how nice Tonks is.
Right.
And they keep assuming that conversation is happening because Molly wanted Bill and Tonks together, not...
Molly's wanting that for Remus.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Tonks, and we've seen Tonks stay late at the Burrow speaking with Molly, and I'm sure they've been talking about Remus.
Yeah.
So the adults in the room are aware of the dynamic. The kids are off.
Yeah.
The kids are off fairly significantly. And it was close, and it was really awkward, and I think there's like context clues about even some of the adults at the table were like, oh boy, this is awkward. Remus, can you figure out a way out of this one?
Wow, a terrible family reunion sounds great.
Yeah. Oh, this is a nice distraction. I'm sure Remus was thankful for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was awkward. Yeah. That was really awkward. So, and Harry walked right into it, and he has no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my other spoilery comment. Any other comments, concerns?
I have a lot of concerns, but
fair enough. All right, I think we will wrap it up there then. So if you guys have anything you want to add to this conversation, which I'm sure you do, let us know if you agree with Julie or I by commenting on the Spotify, by commenting on our Twitter and Instagram at HogwartsAPod. Leave us a 5-star review if you liked that conversation, that little debate that we had. If you feel inclined to donate financially, there's a support the podcast link wherever you're listening to this podcast. It really helps us just by listening, just by spreading the podcast, sharing it around to all of your friends, family members, whoever that likes Harry Potter. We really
random
appreciate
acquaintances.
Random acquaintances. Person you just randomly met on the street.
I've literally done that. I've seen people wearing Harry Potter shirts, and I'm like, have you heard of Hogwarts a podcast?
Love that. Love that. We have
that person. We'll be very proud of you.
Coming up in the fall, I know here in Chicago we're getting The Cursed Child. If you're going to that wonderful play, just randomly, people around you, hey, listen to Hogwarts podcast. Listen to Hogwarts a Pod. Mm-hmm. It's great. Follow Hogwarts a Pod on Instagram. It's great. That'd be all really helpful. Really, really helpful. So we appreciate all of the listens, all of the support you guys do give. We thank you for that. And we will see you back here next week for Chapter 17.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HogwartsAPod.